Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Welcome to Handled-ish, Productivity for the Imperfect, a weekly podcast for those who want to elevate their productivity, but are not looking for perfection. I'm your host, Betsy Hayes, and I'm so glad you are joining me from Podcast Land or on YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about misses and not yets. So I was looking in my file cabinet the other day and I found an artifact, actually three artifacts. In my hand are three audio CDs. For those of you who are listening, you cannot see them, but on YouTube, you are looking at three CDs with a dotted with turquoise polka dots on the cover. I have my Betsy Hayes logo, which is essentially just a lowercase b and a lowercase h in a turquoise circle. And these were things that I produced in 2009 because I decided that a lot of the things that I teach in my courses, as you know, I'm a university professor and I teach public relations. And so much of what I teach, I decided can be applicable to so many things and can really help people with personal and professional success. So I created these audio CDs. One is about presentation skills, one is about perfecting your elevator pitch, and one is titled Proven Public Relations Strategies for Personal and Professional Success. I believe, and I'm sure I'm biased, that the content on these CDs is incredibly valuable. The problem was I developed these right at the time when folks were no longer listening to audio CDs. This was right when MP3 and streaming and digital audio became all the rage, and audio CDs went the way of the dinosaur. The CDs did sell a few. I spoke at the Central California Women's Conference. Shout out to them. I had a link on my website, and shout out to the first stranger who ever bought content from me off the internet, my buddy Anthony in Texas. We're friends on Facebook still. He reached out through the website, and I could not have been more thrilled to put his CDs in the mail. But because technology was transitioning, this ended up being a miss. This was definitely a miss. And, we've sort of joked over the years about how they're kind of good for coasters. And it just was an idea that was a little bit late. I was definitely late to that particular delivery channel party. So fast forward to 2014, and I worked with my writing partner. Shout out to Tori Terhune. You'll get to meet her in a future episode because she is a social media coach, and I'm sure you guys will definitely want to hear from her. She and I put together a book called Win and Wow, Public Relations Secrets for Everyday Success. It is still available on Amazon, but that's not the point of this story. The point of this story is this book is what I'm going to call a not yet. We did not get a chance to maximize and get it out to as many people as we hoped, because again, I believe that this particular content has value. I think that our audience, our target was a little bit too broad. And then we also had life things that led to us not being able to focus as much on the marketing as we would have liked. Again, it did have some success, and the folks who have read it have reported that it's been really helpful to them. So fast forward now, 10 years later, some of the things on these CDs and in this book are going to be incorporated into this podcast. In fact, some of them already have. Also going to be reworking the book into a 2.0 edition using all of the things that have happened in the last 10 years that are relevant to its content, and maybe even putting together a digital course and really doing very, very targeted, specific, great marketing in order to get it into other people's hands. So I'm calling this a not yet. And the reason I'm sharing this story is because a lot of times we will just stop with the miss, right? I did the audio CDs, totally didn't work. I could have just said, you know what? This idea is not going to work. This content is not meant to be out in the world. But we want to evaluate why we're missing this particular thing. I believe that I missed because, again, I was late to the party. And new channels for delivering communication are much, much better than audio CDs. So now I'm hoping that the content is just a not yet to getting out to lots and lots of folks and providing value and helping them. Through this podcast, which is a whole new channel of communication. This podcast is also on YouTube, which is a whole new channel of communication, and developing different ways to share these ideas. So ideally, and obviously to be continued with this story, turning a miss into a not yet. So my thought today is for you to think about the misses that you have had. Sometimes we miss terribly. We are completely off the mark. We are late to the party. The ship has sailed, all those particular things, and it just doesn't happen for us. I want you to consider why it was a miss. Was it really the idea that you had, or was it the timing? Was it the delivery channel? Was it the partner that you chose to, put your trust in doing the production? Why was it a miss? And think about that, and then think about how you can perhaps turn that miss into a not yet. I love that phrasing. I hope you do too. It just gives you so much excitement and potential. Yeah, this idea hasn't crushed it yet, but I'm really thinking it will. The yet word is magical. In fact, maybe that's a theme on this podcast. In episode 2, we talked about the magic word and, which was another 3-letter word that we love. Today, we're talking about the word yet, which I guess is another 3-letter word that we love. So that's something to think about, and I highly encourage you to do so. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to hear what you think. Please let me know at my website, betsyahays.com, BETSY, the letter A, HAYS.com. And to help keep this podcast going, please subscribe, share with a friend, rate and review. I really appreciate your support, and I love to get your feedback. Tune in next week for the next episode of Handled-ish, Productivity for the Imperfect. Until then, take care and be kind to yourself. You are doing way better than you think you are. Trust me.